Bravo, Kirby, you truly earned your reputation as a hero. Your help defeating Landora is invaluable. Ah, at long last it's mine. The source of limitless power, the Master Crown. Obtaining this crown has been my ultimate goal all along. What's all this weird looks? Fine, let me explain everything. I fought Landora by myself and lost and fled to planet Popstar. That's when I thought struck me. I could have defeated Landora for me, a stroke of genius, I know. You even helped me repair my star cutter, as, yeah, I really can't read the text very well, guys, I do apologize for that, but, anywho though, no, there's the time that's come, the entire universe is bowed to me, and for help, for being a big help and then all that stuff, prepare to bow, Popstar, welcome to your new overlord. I must admit though, I do apologize for the actual script writing, so here we go guys, on to the forms of the final world in this game, which appears to be another dimension. So sorry for a little bit of a late introduction for this particular video for this point guys, but I just want to classify something. So hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tiana here once again. Now I'm of course back from the likes of some more of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Kirby's Return to Dreamland, aka Kirby's Adventure Wii for the Nintendo Wii. So last time we have managed to go through World 7 and we managed to gather all 15 of those energy spheres in Dangerous Dinner. And also we managed to beat the likes of Landia as the forms of the main fight of that particular world. And today for this episode is the fact that we're going to be hit on to the final world in this game, which appears to be another dimension. Because you know, after we managed to defeat Landia this whole time, well, apparently though, Megalore was able to actually distract us, and then somehow he just wants that crown somehow. And he somehow managed to get himself transformed into its, well, a new form of himself. You know, it's kind of like the same thing for Marx, as in the forms of Superstar, except the fact that it takes place now in the another portal dimension and stuff. So either way, now after all this though, after when that particular Megalore just somehow betrayed us somehow, and even then though, as far as I'm aware, as you can see from the start, that we're actually going to be riding on the forms of Landia from the start. So naturally speaking, for these particular sequences like this, basically it's almost like a 2D shoot 'em up, which basically kind of reminds me of those kind of like Galaga or something like that, or maybe Zero Wing for the Mega Drive. Well, I've heard of that game, but I've never actually played it. But basically in these sections here is the fact that we need to dodge a lot of hazards here and there, including some shooting action, like keep on shooting all of these kinds of Spear Doomer kind of guys to able to actually progress. And then the next thing you notice is that you need to activate the switch, so that way you can able to continue your progression when it comes to forms of that specifically in this entire world. However though, unlike in any other worlds of this game, and I think it's just kind of like the similar system as the unique forms of how it does it on Kirby's Adventure / Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, is that, well, I'm pretty sure this usually takes place in a World 8 for sure, and then ultimately though, in order to actually access to this particular world, is that you need to refight against with Landia on World 7 again until you're able to access this world, because as a result, oh, we got something approaching. So here's Megalore's, you know, transformation form here, and what's he gonna summon? Oh my goodness, it was actually his, Lore Star Carter right there? I guess I have no choice because we have to deal with it already. So, anywho. So for this particular mini fight, is that you have to keep on shooting the actual lore, Star Cutter and Mega Lore at the same time. So that way we need to keep on like tapping 2 button, or you can able to actually just charge up your shot and then let go as soon as you're able to perform a charge shot. And the more you do it, then the more damage it takes. So either way, the best recommendation for this is, although this particular fight does remind me of the Nightmare Orb from Kirby's Adventure or something, except, well, obviously we no longer have our Star Rod, so instead, in order to actually deal the damage on the actual lore, is that you need to able to keep on using the actual shooting projectiles at the forms of lore himself, or to be more accurate, lore and mega lore. So either way, it's pretty intense though, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, eventually it gets pretty chaos at this point in time. Especially noticeable that we need to dodge a lot of those familiar spheres, as you can see right there. It kind of feels like similar to what the Nightmare Orb usually represents. And let's just go ahead and... oh goodness, I didn't dodge that in time. Oh jeez, I need to able to dodge him from behind, and I'm hoping we can able to live by that. Not much else I can really talk about this, honestly, guys, apart from the fact that today's day is, of course, the 28th of January in 2020. So I just want to classify for something out there, and the reason why I haven't exactly, say, the actual, the to be continued syndrome during the forms of, during last Thursday, probably because we somehow able to cut off during the forms of that specific cutscene, which I was originally trying to show you guys about that, but anywho though, but I digress. So, this might actually be the only worlds to be able to now feature the energy spheres after all, because after all, we did manage to obtain all 120 of them, of course. So either way, oh jeez, oh god, okay, at least we got out of the way, and just a few more shots, and boom, the lore has been taken down, and of course Megalore was still not down yet, because he's got more tricks up on his sleeve. So either way, and we got ourselves our health restored, so that should be swell. So yeah, as I mentioned this earlier, is the fact that, well, Megalore was not done yet, because obviously the entire battle was not exactly over yet either. So, I suppose the only best strategy for this is that I'm actually gonna go for Spark on this specific boss fight, because, well, it just makes things a lot easier, especially noticeable how the fact that you can able to actually take down Megalore no problem. So either way, let's go ahead and face off against with the final boss in the whole entire game. At least in the main gameplay standpoint, because, well, I'm going to be showing off some extra modes here and there, such as, well, I'm probably not going to discuss on this too much until whenever we finish this first off. So, here we go with Megalore. So as you can see, he's trying to teleport all over the place, and sometimes he's able to actually just trying to summon his kind of orb projectiles so that you need to able to dodge, and also be careful of these little needles coming from the ground, so just in case you won't get damaged by it. And yeah, as I mentioned this before already, if you able to actually tap left or right multiple times in Spark mode, or the Spark copy ability, that way you can able to actually just launch yourselves rather, not only just to able to protect you from certain attacks, but also, get this, is that you can able to actually deal some good amount of damage on Megalore if you get close to enough. So either way, best recommendation is able to actually just rank up his health. So either way, now he's on to the halfway point, which means about the fact that he's actually going to be, well, a lot tougher to be expected. So, and this is the part we need to get away from, because if you get sucked up by that, well, obviously you're gonna lose a lot of bounty of health. So you really don't want that. And especially noticeable how the fact that it always kind of reminds me of Mark's boss battle from Kirby Superstar, except, jeez, I got trapped. No, 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 no. I refuse to able to lose my spark. I was hoping I can able to actually get ourselves a good strategy by simply able to use spark up against the wall. And then as a result, I can able to get a good amount of damage to Megalore himself. But I digress. So anyways, let's go ahead and take down some more bits of health and try to at the same time dodge a lot of those hazards and what have you. Sometimes I constantly find myself lose footing right here. And if you think this particular boss battle was done, well, if we do, well, much like the forms of how he does it on Grand Duma, that basically that he does manage to got himself some sort of like a super ability health gauge. So in this case, except the fact that the difference is now that we're about to be obtaining all of those super abilities during new forms of that specific phases. Like for instance, this first part we need to use the Monster Flame, and if you time it well enough, if you're trying to do it, then it takes one part down. And I believe, if you manage to done one part already, I'm pretty sure that Megalore will eventually try to able... Oh, okay. I think it's only like 3 super abilities. The only super abilities that we might actually not go for is the Super Ball, and especially noticeable with... I would classify for saying Grand Hammer most likely, because these are the super abilities that we cannot access to, but the only ones is of course the Monster Flame, as well as the Flare Beam, and finally, perhaps notably, the forms of Ultra Sword. However though, if you somehow die to this fight, well, I'm pretty darn sure you need to restart that entire battle again, unless that, well, we'll explain more on that later whenever we get to the forms of the later portion of this fight, because as a result, it will take you a lot of curves and what have you, so that you can able to actually... How did he dodge my Mega, Flare Beam? How very mean. Anyways, let's go ahead and get him for reals, and if you think he's done, well, we got one more Ultra Super ability to use, and that's of course the actual, the Ultra Sword, because otherwise, it will pop up as soon as when he actually decides to show up, such as like so. And don't worry, as soon as when Megalore starts to do that, whenever he disables our super abilities and stuff, thankfully though, it doesn't count as the actual damage output. So naturally speaking, it's the fact that we're able to actually think to ourselves, we're moving on to this next super ability. Okay, shake the Wiimote up and down fast as you can until you're able to break free for that specific attack right there. So, once again, like the Grand Duma fight from the likes of World 5 will end off in a nice little devastating slash. Pretty satisfying, I know. But if you think this was actually over, well, turns out he wasn't. Because, well, after this little sequence has been done, well, he's got his next form. In this case, the true final form for Megalore himself, which appears to be none other than... Yeah, he seriously looks kind of reminds me of Marks for some reason, but except the fact that it's more likely Megalore kind of soul to it, but I really haven't know about everything else for this for the most part, so... Anyways, let's go ahead and get ourselves... Oh wow, that was really bad. And in fact, the matter is though, is that I'm almost low on health, so as a result, I think I should might as well able to commit a suicide if I... Yeah, just simply die right there, because there was no way I'm not going to deal with Megalore with a little bit of health. Thankfully though, assuming if I'm trying to get myself my sparks, or that spark ability again, if I manage to hit back into that door, luckily I can able to continue as resuming. So as you can see, we still face off against with this particular form of Megalore once again, so naturally speaking I'm okay with, because either way, whilst unlike the forms of how it does it in I would classify for saying in Kirby Dreamland 2 and Kirby Dreamland 3, they have to reset the entire final boss battle again, and also same applies for I would say, from the looks of the actual standpoint, I think that could be also same applies for... Actually, I really don't know actually, because I know it has been quite a few days since actually coming back into the forms of playing some Kirby games once in a while, but still. And this part we need to dodge, because otherwise if it goes like in the lower ground, well, assuming if you're able to use the spark ability, you should be much more protected from here. But nonetheless though, oh god, here comes the Kamehameha kind of ability that she was doing. Yeah, if you try to dodge that well enough, then you will be alright, but it's just the fact that it just gets a little bit tricky if you're not paying attention to that. But Luckily, the entire battle wasn't all that hard, but it's just that sometimes you need to get a lot of decent footing going on. Especially noticeable, you have to memorize all of his attacks, and this is the part we need to get away from there. So, because if you stand near where the actual purple spots are, you're probably gonna get hit multiple times. So, you really don't want to let that happen. So, there comes this in the halfway point right now, where he's now going to be using his ultra abilities for himself, or in this case, his super abilities even, such as, well, the ultra sword face, and also, eventually at this point, he might actually start to be using his flare beam eventually, and as well as from that, there will be a few times though that we need to be very cautious with that. So eventually at this point, I think he's now using his monster flame, believe it or not. So, but even then, I always found that to be kind of unpredictable to dodge at times. But hopefully he will be able to be done as soon as we're able to noticing this. Eventually at this point, sometimes he loves to juggle most of the enemies. So just in case you can able to actually get yourselves, get to the center. So that way you don't want to get hit by those electrical stuff right there. Oh, jeez. Sometimes he always teleports all over the place, just like how Marx used to die back in Kirby Superstar, but except the actual design of him is actually a lot different to be desired. So anyways, let's go ahead and keep on charging up our spark ability if we can, and make sure to dodge these little coming hard kind of technique, as you can see. And hopefully it should be direct to the center, and booyah! And there goes Megalore. So eventually he'll go back into its normal self, which I think it might be soon to so. But somehow, for whatever reason, is that whenever when Megalore is now into its true form, well, or in this case its normal form rather, he just somehow disappears somehow. Along with the actual Super Crown itself. And I think that's pretty much all I can say when it comes to forms of the actual ending if you couldn't tell, because now we actually escaped from another dimension before it starts to crumble, and now we actually did return back onto the dreamland, of course. And hopefully everything else will be fully restored by then. So, yeah, it's a pretty sweet ending all in all. Especially noticeable how the fact that at least we're able to realize is that Megalore was actually portrayed us somehow. So, either way though, once you beat the final boss, it takes you to the forms of the staff credits, which is pretty sweet to just to go through, because it just usually scrolls up, and eventually it actually gives us some screenshots of the actual gameplay itself. There's also another version of this credit sequence which just happens the same thing, except with, well, probably we'll discuss more into that whenever we get on to the other videos worth mentioning for. Something's worth mentioning for this point, by the way, when it comes to uploading schedules at this point with this game. Well, I'll talk more about it until specifically this Thursday, because, well, unfortunately though, I don't seem to able to accomplish 100% just yet, because in order to actually get 100% through the main story, as well as the ones in the second playthrough, is that you have to go through the challenge rooms, because challenge rooms does count, because if you ignore them, I believe you get about likely 93% as opposed to 100, which I totally understand why, because I'm pretty sure you get 1% each time whenever you complete one of these, but don't worry though, I'll tackle those in the next video. So either way, and as a result after that, well, again, I'll talk more about it until likely this Thursday in between. So either way, yeah, that's as far as I can say for this point, guys, apart from the fact that, well, there's just only like, yeah, there's not much else I can say, so sadly, because then again, there's not much else I can really just to discuss upon, actually, because, well, apart from the fact there's a pretty cool ending to this, though, and especially noticeable how the fact that, well, the Another Dimension world is being fully completed and all as such. So naturally speaking, there's not much else to discuss upon. So I will say, I really still enjoy this game though, especially noticeable how the fact that it's going back into its traditional style of Kirby games we all know and love back in the old days. But yeah, it's one of the most amazing things in the world, especially when, well, I'll talk about more about the final thoughts of it though, until whenever we're able to conclude this Let's Play. Well, not necessary just yet though, because again, there are still some more content I'd like to show you guys about this, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, me and Sonic are about to be able to actually show off some extra videos and stuff like that retrospectively, or prospectively I should say. Like, for instance, I'm doing this, and then Sonic is starting to get back onto Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, if he is assuming he's trying to go through all that stuff, which we're hoping that'll be the case, because, well, you know, January is almost getting close, and at some form or another, we're not going to get that much delays or anything like that, at least we hope so anyway. So, anywho though, yeah, I do apologize for the lack of commentary for this point, as I know for the fact that I know the actual dialogue itself is gone pretty corny, because then again, there's not much else I can talk about at this rate in time. It's just the fact the matter is though, is the fact that, well, until at this point is that tomorrow that Mickey and, well, not so much for Mickey, but Piglet and Daffy are about to be finishing up with their Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games tomorrow, which, spoiler alert for those of you who want to know what the actual premise is that is, so just want to classify that right away. So, man, I just really like the actual visuals of this game. It still looks pretty impressive back on the actual Wii's era. Which, unfortunately for Japan though, is the fact that the actual Wii repairing service or something like that will be ended and during at some point by the end of March this year. Which is kind of sad, probably because of how the fact that, well, despite, oh, there's still as Landor in the background, as well as Lord Starcutter in the background too. And of course, we can never forget the forms of Shiwata Iwata's name on here, which, you know, that particular person is always super important when it comes to Nintendo community and stuff like that. So, still, this game came out in 2011, which either way though, it was pretty much 8 years old for this point right now. Well, yeah, it's probably 8 years for now. Well, at least until when it gets to November this year, it will be 9 years. But then until likely next year in 2021, I can't believe this game will be about a decade old. But anyways, once the credit sequence is over, it says the end with a question mark. Oh, I get it, because when you beat the main game, you're able to unlock the second playthrough known as the extra mode, where basically, it plays out exactly like how it did in, the main game, except, well, we'll discuss more now as soon as we're able to go through those modes, basically. And now we can listen to the sound test now, which is always pretty swell. And also we've unlocked the arena, which is basically to be expected for the most Kirby games from the past. That allows you to able to fight against with the boss fights all in one go. So naturally speaking, it's self-explanatory for the most part. So, and the reason why we're probably not going to show you guys the extra mode of this game, probably because it plays out exactly like how it did on the main playthrough, except the noticeable giant differences with that is that, well, in the extra mode, you have like 50% less health compared to the forms of 100% health bar in the main quest. So naturally speaking, I'm probably not going to go for that stuff, unless if I have to do it on my own time. And plus, kind of think about it, the reason why we got ourselves a silver star as opposed to the gold and rainbow star in the actual main adventure, as I said before, in order to actually get 100% on this is the fact that you have to like complete and not only just try to get yourselves all the energy spheres, but also trying to tackle through the challenge rooms themselves retrospectively. So yeah, that's what I was going to be thinking about this, and I think I should probably end things off here. So join me until next time for more of Let's Play of Kirby's Return to Dreamland, is the fact that we're going to be hit on to the challenge rooms and how this game actually offers us to. So see you guys on Thursday. Later, fellas.